We get in there, we recon Bravo, we go home. If everything goes tits up, the professor is our top priority. Are we clear?
Clear as nar shit.
Rodriguez?
Warning.
We've got incoming. Take evasive action. Breaking right. Hold on. I got it.
So begins Serious Sam 3 BFE, which apparently stands for Before First Encounter, corresponding to the fact that in the world of Sam, this is a prequel to the first game. But to be quite honest, the ordering of the games matters very little, because if you're the kind of person who has bought and played a Serious Sam game before now, you'll know exactly what to expect, prequel, sequel, or otherwise. Even for those new to the series, it's plain to see where BFE takes its inspiration from. See if you can recognise the premise. A lone, wisecracking macho man uses a host of over-the-top weaponry to destroy a near-endless horde of aliens, demons, and mutilated humans in order to save humanity. Yep, it's pretty much a hybrid of Duke Nukem 3D and Doom, and this is accurately reflected in the general gameplay, which hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot since Serious Sam 2. Hell, it hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot since Doom 2. Here are your guns, there's the enemy, go nuts. Of course, there is a bit more to it than that, but not by much, and therein lies the attraction. It's interesting to note the modern conventions that BFE has picked up versus the ones it hasn't. For one, health and armor do not auto-regenerate. Instead, players need to keep an eye out for the pickups that have been inexplicably tossed around the levels to restore their resilience. This works well, as it means that there is an emphasis on keeping the pace of the game high, and also to explore levels to uncover the secret rooms and pathways that lead to more pickups. On the other hand, iron sights have been introduced to some guns, meaning that you can only get the best accuracy by holding down the right trigger to aim down the barrel. I haven't used this ability much, as bringing up the gun to aim obscures a large amount of the screen, meaning that you can be hit by projectiles coming straight at you that you literally just did not see. Similarly, the blurry vision effects that occur from being hit are kind of annoying, as it really affects your ability to aim. In a game where there's often dozens, if not hundreds of enemies around you, I'd have thought that making sure the player could see properly at all times would have been a top priority. But speaking of visuals, Croteam have crafted a pretty solid engine for the game to run on, with special props having to be given to the indoor lighting. Outdoors in the streets of Cairo, the complexity of the environments have been kicked up a notch, with all sorts of debris and half-shattered buildings contributing positively to the overall style. I would, however, have liked to have seen a bit more effort put in to make some of the enemies more distinct from the backgrounds. With the increase in visual complexity, it can be hard to see enemies from a distance. There were more than a few times where I was getting nailed across a terrace and had to wait to see the damage location indicator to find out where the hell the enemy was. Having said that, since most of the time you'll be sprinting around the levels like crazy, it won't take too long to find something to shoot. As in the prior art the BFE takes its cues from, monsters are varied, although in this case there doesn't seem to be a central theme tying them together beyond aliens, and even that theme is rather broadly interpreted. There are humans that have been cloned or repurposed as kamikaze bombers, galloping fossils, cyclopean bruisers, gigantic dual machine gun wielding arachnids, wall climbing spiders, half-naked harpies, and so on and so forth. Half the fun of each new enemy is figuring out how many rounds of your favourite death-dealing device it requires to turn them into a red splatter on the ground. The other half is trying to figure out exactly how you're going to deal with it being thrown into the steadily increasing horde of monsters out to get you. Because if there's one thing that BFE does well that other games don't, it's pure volume. Forget assassinating single targets or combat efficiency. In this game, you're going to run out of bullets before you run out of targets. Thankfully, there's an instant kill melee attack, as well as a sledgehammer to use when ammo gets low. No crowbars here, Dr. Freeman. Unfortunately, the melee attack only takes out one enemy at a time, and while doing so leaves you open to damage from everything else that's trying to kill you. So it's only viable in situations where you have a small number of enemies attacking you. The sound effects for the game are pretty good, although it's the music that really stands out as being of high quality. The soundtrack is a cross between metal and Middle Eastern, which serves to get the adrenaline pumping when gunning down foes. I did have a minor issue with the battle music being too quick to fade in and out depending on whether you are engaged with the enemy. Sometimes you'll encounter single enemies and the music will fade in as you say shotgun them down and then fade back out. Then fade back in when you round another corner and kill another single enemy, then fade back out. And do this over and over again as you take out small groups of enemies. I'd have preferred perhaps a little bit more leeway between the fade triggers. I guess the joy in this game comes from the fact that it is so completely at odds with its title. The game is as much about having fun with the over-the-top weapons and ridiculous numbers of enemies on screen as it is getting in the zone. Ultimately, you probably knew whether or not you wanted this game from the first 20 or so seconds of this review. If spamming bullets at headless, yet somehow still screaming guys with bombs for hands is something you think might float your boat, you'll be very pleased with Serious Sam 3 BFE. It's still quite expensive at $39.99 US, but it regularly goes on sale on Steam, so maybe consider putting it on your wishlist for a future date. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.